Good morning. I would like to call my first Finance Committee meeting to order. It is 10 o'clock, and since we have several people in the room, I'd like you all just to give me your name. And then we'll get started.
Stephen Rao.
Keith Heinrichsen.
Alice Wysocki. Karen Chrisman.
Michael Perky.
Denise Fritz. Haley Dodson.
Michael Castellanos. Ryan Malone.
Okay, welcome. We have a quorum. 3 members of the committee would establish a quorum because there are 5 of you, and that's more than 50%. Scott McCann is not here, but he is excused. All you have to do is let me know and have a really good reason to be excused. Okay, and we're gonna go over the bylaws in a few minutes so that you know exactly. You guys probably already know, but it'll be helpful anyway. Chair report. I don't have a chair report today. So I am going to, would you like me to do orientation of new committee members first, or would you like to have an election for a vice chair and a secretary? You might want to know what your role would be. So we can go over the bylaws first. How's that?
Agreed.
Okay. So in your packet, you have a board packet that's labeled 4B. And this is discuss the Cambria Community Services District standing bylaws. And the reason that I have this here is so that you know what it is that you're here about and why what your role is. Before we start that, would you each new members, all of our members, give us about a 3-sentence introduction to who you are and why you're here?
My name is Stephen Rao, with a V. My last name is R-A-U. I'm an attorney. I've been an attorney for almost 50 years now. Spent good portion of my working life in Fresno, moved here permanently in 2016. And a good friend of Debbie's, just honored to serve. I'm presently general counsel for a company called West Valley Farm Enterprises, which is headquartered in Hanford, California.
Thank you.
Keith Heinrichsen. My wife and I moved here in '99, and I retired a year ago. The primary jobs that I've had since I was here is work in planning for Caltrans when I first got to town, and then I went back into the nuclear power industry and worked out at Diablo Canyon Radiation Protection Department, and was responsible for the station's respirator and instrument programs for my department.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Enjoyed the first year.
Great.
Crash course. Thank you.
Yeah.
Alice Wysocki. I was born in San Luis, raised in Morro Bay. My parents were married in Cambria in 1954. I moved back home 11 years ago. I've been an enrolled agent with the U.S. Treasury for 30 long years now. And so representing taxpayers for my adult life, this is just another version of that.
Can you tell people what that means?
So starting in the Civil War, the government created a group within the Treasury that were specifically designed to help taxpayers with reparations from the Civil War. It's been a license under the U.S. Treasury ever since.
Oh.
So representing the taxpayer before the most feared agency in the government. Who now has very little staff.
Yeah.
Fun.
It's even better, huh?
Fun.
Okay, well, thank you. You're welcome. Yes.
I'm Karen Chrisman. This is my second term, I think, on the Finance Committee that's starting now. I've been coming to Cambria regularly since late 1998, and I became full-time in the pandemic. I do a variety of volunteer gigs in town, so I see some of you, some places, some other places. And as to why I'm here, I ask myself that monthly, so I don't have a good answer yet. But I'm glad to be chosen.
Yeah, yes, welcome. Could the staff just do quick so that these people know who you are?
Michael Berkey, Fire Chief, Cambria. So I've been in the position about a little over a year now. I did a little bit of interim work before that, but I've been with Cambria Fire since 2011. I'm just a firefighter, then as an engineer, I'm moved up to captain and then chief.
And I'm Denise Fritz. I'm the administrative department / finance manager, and I've been with Cambria, gosh, a little over 2.5 years now,
Wow.
which feels like a minute.
Like 4,000 years.
And you're gonna be our teacher, right?
Anyone who needs help, I'm happy to
Great.
meet with and answer questions.
Great, thank you.
And I'm Haley Dodson. I'm the confidential administrative assistant to the general manager. And I've been with the district for almost 9 years. Feels more than a minute.
Yeah.
I'm Matthew McElhaney, the general manager for the district. I've been here. It'll be 2 years in April. Before that, I worked closely with Chief Berkey. I was a paramedic for the Cambria Community Healthcare District since 2008, part-time while I was a firefighter in the Central Valley, Southern Monterey County, and in the Half Moon Bay area. I also worked for the fire department as a reserve firefighter paramedic for a couple of years. And I'm a faculty member in Northern California, teaching EMS courses and health education. And yeah, I was brought in a couple of years ago. It's been quite the ride, and I'm still here, so.
Thank you.
Michael Castellanos, I'm a lifelong resident in Cambria, 36 years. I started with Berkey in 2011, Cambria Fire, worked my way up, currently a fire captain here in town. I'm also the union president and resident also.
Brian Maloney, I'm the apparatus engineer. I've been on the department for 26 years.
Well, welcome to everyone. Okay, so please turn to page 8 of your packet. And under scope of responsibility, the standing committees are advisory to the board of directors. We have no power by ourselves. So we make recommendations to the board, and then the board makes decisions about what we recommend. Although what I would like to say to you is that recommendations from advisory committee members means a lot to the board. And we weigh that very heavy in the decisions that we make. We are here to talk about district issues. We try very hard to not get off on side tangents about things that we don't have any control over. And so we kind of stick to what special districts are about. And that's why I thought that was important for you to have that magazine. I'll get some more of those so that you all can have a copy of it. I hope. Do I have enough? No.
No, they're only provided to the board members and staff.
Oh, well, there you go. We'll see. The other thing that's really important about the advisory committees is that your chair is actually a member of the board. What that means is when recommendations are brought to the board, I'm the one that will, I don't want to say push, but I'm the one who will say, you know, we've had a huge discussion on this. These are some of the recommendations, those kind of things, and that carries a lot of weight with the board. With the board as a whole. So, for instance, there are other committees out in the, or other groups out in the community who, are not part of the CCSD, so an advisory committee, holds a little more sway with the board. As you see on page 8, under 1.6.1, this is our definition. The Finance Committee shall provide review for transparent budget processes and financial management that promote fiscal stability and instill public trust. We have no public people who are here to listen today, but that may change depending on the kind of things that we talk about.
You have 4.
Oh, we have 4 online? I don't. Oh, up there. We have Cheryl, we have Christina Galloway, we have Cheryl McDowell, Christina Galloway, Christine Heinrichs, and Crosby and Laura Schwartz. Welcome. On C, we have, discuss and review public input during committee meetings and advise the board of directors on financial matters. So information that you have from the outside, you're a member of the community and you will hear things from the community that we may not hear. So that information is really important to us too. And then we also support provide a financial review assessment and recommendation to the CCSD Board of Directors regarding potential funding sources available to the district from private, public, county, state, or federal entities. And then lastly, support other standing committees. So if you know of grants that you think would be beneficial and helpful to the CCSD, if you know of other sources of funding out there, that would be information that you could bring to the committee. I won't read through the other standing committees. Yes.
So I was kind of curious when I read these, do we set our own agenda? Or are we only reacting to requests that come to this committee from the board?
That's a really good question. Because whoever is willing to be the vice chair of the committee will help me set the agenda. So we set the agenda, although we have Denise who specifically brings things to us that we need to review in anticipation of the board looking at those issues. You want to speak to that?
Yeah, so I would say there's probably, let's say, 3 different ways that something would get on the agenda. So we meet monthly with the chair and the vice chair and myself. Some things may come from the board. They may say, assign it to the finance committee to work on something. There are yearly things that need to be reviewed. So all the quarterly budget reports come here. There's a lot of different resolutions that are just yearly things that need to be updated that may come through here first. So those will be on the agenda, and Ms. Dotson helps keep me on track and make sure that the timeline is correct before it comes here, before it goes to the board. And then as well as through discussion in here, we can recommend, members can recommend of things that they may want to talk about, which then the chair and vice chair can place on the board, on the agenda.
That answer your question? Okay, any other questions so far? Nope, all right. Under committee members, you see who the members are. I do not vote. And Mr. McElhaney is an ex officio member. He does not vote. It used to be that I could vote to break a tie, but that is no longer the case. We've changed the bylaws so that it just is you all. who does the vote. That's why we have to have at least 3 people. To even have a meeting. So if something happens and people can't show up, then we truly can't have a meeting. Okay. You know how you got appointed. You know that you have to be a registered voter here. As you, this committee, the regular meetings of this committee are the first Monday after each regular board meeting. Okay, so the regular board meetings are on the second Thursday of the month. Now, have you sent them the schedule for the meetings?
I don't think I have. It's
Oh,
on the website.
It's on the website, so if you can't access, yes,
Yeah, we got calendar invites.
oh, okay,
over the
for
weekend.
everything,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't send
the regular,
list. Yeah,
Oh.
it's online.
it's there. And the reason, for instance, that today is a special meeting is that last Monday was a holiday. And generally, we would have the meeting on Tuesday at 10 o'clock, but I am part of the Cambria Corral that meets every Tuesday from 9 to 11. And it's very important that I'm there because I'm the treasurer there too. And so I asked that we could have a special meeting today instead. So thank you for being flexible around that. Under committee member guidelines, 4.4, I probably don't even need to speak with you about this, but this says committee members shall at all times conduct themselves with courtesy toward each other, to staff and to members of the audience present at the committee meetings. If anyone should disrupt the committee meetings or participate in behavior contrary to the charges and responsibilities of the committee by majority vote may recommend action to the CCSD board. It would be making people not be able to attend, or as far as one of you, if you are rude and insulting, then the board could take you off the committee. And I don't expect that's going to happen at all. When you see an agenda, or if you see each other out in the community, if there are 2 of you, it would be okay for you to talk about things, but if more than 2 of you are in any one place, do not discuss anything about CCSD. That makes sense?
That's the Brown Act thing, right?
Brown Act thing. And we do have a Brown Act tutorial. When is that?
It's March 12th from 10 to 12 here, that's all.
And if you can't make that, is there something online that they could listen to? Okay.
The recording will be posted online.
there we go.
The training's over, so you're welcome to listen to that.
So we'll have that recording, and then there's obviously, YouTube has.
Yeah.
Endless amounts of information on Brown Act training.
So is that meeting open to the general public as well, so that they can learn what the Brown Act means too?
It will be open to the public. Yes, it's posted as a special board meeting and joint standing committee meeting.
Great.
Yes.
As you know, I can't make the Brown Act
Right.
meeting. How long is the recording online?
Indefinitely.
I see, okay.
Done.
So,
No, it's about, what, 2 hours? No.
yeah, so for me, the point is to, how will you know when I listen to it?
You'll tell us.
Okay. That's each one.
Yes. All right, so do you have any other questions about the bylaws or about your role as a committee member? Okay. All right, good. So, let's talk about vice chair and secretary. So vice chair is, as Denise said, someone who would meet with us prior to the meeting online on Zoom, right? for just a few minutes
Yeah, it usually doesn't take more than a half an hour to set an agenda.
yeah, to set the agenda for the upcoming meeting. And if I am gone for some reason and, cannot be here, that person would run the meeting if there is a quorum. So is there anyone who is interested in being the vice chair of this committee?
I know.
Well, the vice chair is a much easier position than secretary, so secretary would be the person who actually takes minutes. And those minutes then, will be voted on at the next meeting. And, it's not real hard. They're very, action-oriented, minutes, depending on who the person is who's taking minutes. That person, sometimes, tell stories about about what's said in the committee meeting, but that's not necessary. It's just action items that need to be reported. Nobody wants to be anything?
Had Scott expressed any interest when you spoke with him?
Well, he's not here, so we can make him both.
No, I thought maybe if he had a. if he
No.
had-
He hasn't said that.
That'll burn him.
Yeah,
I would be willing to be your backup
vice chair?
vice chair.
Okay, great. Yay. Yay.
You can't be secretary, trust me.
Yeah. I just, was assigned to be the session clerk at our church. And which means taking minutes every month. And, it's a really good way to get in your head what we're actually doing, in meetings. Was that a good
Secretary?
sales thing?
You're still trying to sell that, yeah.
Yeah, sell that. Do either of you want?
I'm the recording secretary for 2 other boards.
Yeah.
So I'm full up, I
Yeah.
hope.
Yes.
Well, you're very practiced, though. You should be very
I was
efficient.
gonna say experience, I've got experience.
That wasn't a good thing to say.
I'm happy to later, but not straight out of the
No.
gate.
So, who was the secretary last year?
Dave,
Dave Pearson. Oh, okay. So should we assign Scott since he's not here?
Is this between you and I? Should we? You know, that would teach him to not show up.
I'm sure it was not intentional.
No, I'm sure.
I'll take the minutes of this meeting. So nobody has to do anything, for today. And then you can see, where you have been in a meeting and see what the minutes look like. And then we'll do this again at the next meeting. How's that?
Sounds great.
All right.
So moved.
Okay, good. Is Dave?
Yeah,
Yes.
question. I mean, is that a function that can rotate? Or is that not a good idea?
Well, once you get in the swing of things, it kind of becomes second nature.
Okay.
There's an example, like last meeting's minutes are in here and it's a template, so you can kind of just, I mean.
Yeah,
see what
Haley
it-
sends you a template.
Yeah, so you can see what has been done in the past.
Yep.
And talk to Scott, maybe Scott will be willing to.
Okay, so we'll talk with him, but we'll do this again, so we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting. Thank you, Keith, for volunteering.
Very welcome.
Okay. Now, under 1F, this is the committee member communications. Uh-oh,
I go with them.
of course you do.
Leaving that then.
Thanks for being here.
Okay.
If you want it.
Okay.
Are you covering? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Committee member communications are for you to bring anything to the committee that you know of that's going on in the community. If you have thoughts that you want the committee to, comment on, and it's just a way for you to be able to bring things to us.
Are you opening the floor to a question?
Sure.
Okay, well, I have a question. You know, I've been watching San Simeon and their issues. I don't understand all of the history of it. I'm kind of backfitting the players and what's all happened. But in one of the reporters' last statements that they had in whatever publication that was, they said that the county may be taking over operating the San Simeon CSD or perhaps Cambria. And so or perhaps Cambria got my attention. And so I was curious if that kind of couple questions that may sprout into other ones, but the first question is, if Cambria CCSD was to assume that responsibility, would that go to the Cambria residents to vote on it? Or is that something that the GM would decide with the board, or?
No, it would be a huge, public situation, and would you like to speak to that, please?
Sorry, Haley was talking about, some overlapping meetings.
Oh,
That's
no, he's asking about, there was an article that said that, the county would be taking over San Simeon,
oh,
but that maybe Cambria would. So can you just talk with him about how?
Was it either county was maybe gonna take
Yeah.
over Cambria?
Yeah.
Okay, not Cambria
no,
was gonna take over.
no.
Yes, no, Cambria
no.
was gonna take over.
Oh,
San
San
Simeon.
Simeon,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
you read an article about that? Okay.
Yeah.
I was contacted by, a journalist seeking comment on that. So as far as I know, LAFCO is looking at their dissolution. That then goes to the county. County, just flew a RFP for a study on San Simeon and basically all of their functions. So the county's actually hiring a consultant to evaluate San Simeon. Basically to try and figure out, what they're up against if it has to come and become a county service area.
Right.
Okay, for Cambria, 100% a board decision. I did mention it in our, was it R&I? It was R&I. R&I committee meeting, and this discussion came up. Without a doubt, the county will reach out to us. County had asked us in previous conversations what type of synergy we had in terms of helping one another. The district really has never accepted any help from San Simeon. However, at one point, we did truck them water when they had some plant issues. But yeah, I'm sure at some point the county will knock on our door and gauge interest on whether or not the district would want to take over some services, all services, but that conversation hasn't happened yet. And then, of course, it would be a board decision. There's budget implications, there's a study evaluation, all those things would have to happen.
And so it would be in a public meeting,
Mhm.
and the community would, have a chance to comment.
Would they actually have would there be an actual ballot on the, to take?
I don't know
to
if
get
that would be
vote?
a ballot measure. That would just be an
Okay,
agreement between the county. I mean, LAFCO would be involved because now we're expanding our sphere of influence.
You know who LAFCO is?
No,
yes.
Okay, would you? tell-
Local Agency Formation
Commission.
Commission, there we go. So they govern, basically cities and counties, and they take a look at basically their sphere of influence, where they are in terms of geographic location, roles, responsibilities, principal acts. So for us, they're the ones that awarded us our different areas of responsibilities, fire protection, parks, rec, open space.
Okay, but it wouldn't go as far as to an election where people actually vote a yea or nay for that.
Not to my knowledge, no, that wouldn't happen, but it would come to the board and there would be robust discussions. Again, we would have to, this is a big process.
Oh, sure. And my second question was that if there was interest in that, and would we as a finance committee have an opportunity to look at what's gone upside down in San Simeon so that we could better understand their finances there as well?
So all of their finances are public record. I mean, at some point, if this committee was curious, we could go back and look at that. I mean, but yeah, all of that would be evaluated.
Okay.
We would have to look at their budget, their general fund, their property taxes, their enterprise funds.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
exactly what we as a district, even if we were considering it,
Right.
all of that would be evaluated to see, can we take it on?
When they get assigned property taxes, I'm assuming there might be some leveraging tool in there as far as
Well,
negotiating or master negotiating.
Well,
You know,
as-
maybe more, you know, I think there's a lot that could go into that.
as a board member, it would have to be a really good thing for Cambria.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know, the discussions have been had
Part of our
at the staff
tourism
level.
taxes.
Yeah.
You know, what would have to happen for us to be wanting to take on those responsibilities?
Mhm.
And it would have to be a huge financial win for the district, ultimately.
Mhm.
We couldn't, you know, we couldn't take on, a failing, district, you know,
Exactly.
when we already have our own struggles in terms of revenue, both in the general fund and in the, enterprise fund, so.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a big discussion, if the county ever does come our way.
Yeah.
To gauge our interest in that.
Yeah, it's hard to see how they don't. It's hard to see how they're not knocking on your door at some.
Oh, they will be. I think they're just, you know, again, they just flew this RFP to basically study the entire, district.
Sure.
You know, so they're well informed, and then that's gonna be public record, so we'll take a look at that, and ultimately, once LAFCO gets finished with it and the county gets finished with their RFP and their consultant, I'm sure they'll be calling me up.
Yes.
And we'll have meetings on it at staff level. We'll bring all the information together, and then, there will be a robust discussion at the board level if that's what happens.
So how are the community members receiving services? Have the county assumed operation of the district, or are they taken over the provision of
No,
public
they're still-
services themselves?
Yeah, there's still, they still have a general manager, they're still hanging in there, you know, I haven't been paying as close, of attention, have they still been having board meetings?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was the liaison to San Simeon and, when they got to a point where they decided, on dissolution, then, I quit attending.
But yeah, they're definitely struggling, but the general manager's still there, and they've
I think he's interim.
interim.
Yeah, he's
But he's
interim,
been there, I think, interim for
a year.
or more, right?
Yeah, at least a year. But good
Thank you.
question, yeah. Any other committee member communications?
I have a question.
Yes.
Given the federal, hopefully temporary shutdown of the checkbook, does the district have any exposure with regard to FEMA or any of the rest of the federal funds that flow in here?
Yeah, we have some federal grants that we use, so, the biggest one that is like actively supporting our operations is we have a fire. It's called the Safer Grant, and it supports, 3 of our firefighters. And so we get reimbursed quarterly for those. I mean, we just got a payment from them, so but we were going out for a new grant and, we did not get that. But it was before the shutdown, so I don't think it had anything to do with that. So that's some exposure there, as well as I believe Stewart Street Tank. Right? Our grant, we have a grant for our Stewart Street Tank rehabilitation, which we don't have the money for yet, which we didn't before this happened, which I think it slowed that down. If the utility manager and I spoke and they kind of halted their community, you know, said, well, we can't really communicate right now about, you know, they kind of stopped communication with him. So that is something for our Stewart Street Tank. And any other grants you can think of?
The skate park grant.
Is federal?
It's federal. We're already far enough along on the East Ranch restroom that those monies have already.
Been issued to us,
deposited.
yeah.
But the Stewart Street tanks could be problematic, because I think even now there's some holdups at the federal level for some grant funding in California, high-speed rail, things like that. I'm not sure exactly where our grant monies fall into place there, especially the Stewart Street tanks or the skate park for that fact.
So we don't know exactly my question was, who are the funding agencies for those grants? Is it USAID? Is it the Department of Interior? Or?
I'd have to look, I don't
Be
have
kind of
that
interesting to
information.
know.
Yeah, I don't have that information in the top of my head about who, I know, like the restroom, or the skate park is the, it's like a parks and.
Yeah, it's the, well, it started as a California State Parks, it's got federal funding. So that'll come from,
Yeah, so we're actually working with California State Parks, but they're getting federal funding, so it's just, you know, the trickle down, but Stewart Street Tank, I'm not sure. Just because that was kind of procured before I got here and we haven't had to really do much with it yet, so I don't know who the granting agency is on that.
EPA.
I don't have my computer with me.
But I can check with Jim,
Mhm.
find out who the agency is.
So nothing dragging on from FEMA from a couple of years ago.
Well, FEMA's always difficult.
Yes, so yeah, there's some
There's-
outstanding from the storm. Yeah.
And
But they have made some,
Mhm.
so they have, so.
it's, but they've also changed our representative,
Two times, yeah. FEMA's very difficult
times.
to work with.
Yeah.
So that's a long process.
We have
Um,
worked with,
I haven't heard of them stopping the process because of what's going on in the government. I know they shifted focus when, what was it, the hurricanes back east happened, you know, there was a kind of a shift in their focus, but
yeah, our representative, every time we get a new representative, it seems like we start back at the beginning in terms of documentation.
yeah.
So we've gone
It's
through this
fine.
portal and uploaded documents, and then we'll get a new representative and we go back to square one. And then we get back to, we regain some of that lost traction and there's a new representative. So it's been frustrating to say the least. But
So what's the financial exposure on that? Let's just say the spigot stops. How much money are you talking about outstanding?
well,
Well, Stewart
Roughly,
Street
roughly.
tank is about $150,000, I believe. Does that sound too
no.
high? I'm sorry, no, their grant. Is,
For the Stewart Street tank?
Yeah.
I think it's close to 275,000 for the Stewart Street tanks.
yeah, I mean, and I can bring that to the next meeting, but, for the safer, it's about $80,000 a quarter. So, you know, like $250,000 a year, but we just got extended to finish this current grant that we're on, so that's only through June. And then we did not receive a new grant, so we'll be losing 3 firefighters in June.
And then what?
And they've
is
been
the
sending us
holdover
money.
disaster stuff,
Say that
the
again.
holdover disaster stuff.
You're talking about FEMA?
Mm,
Well, most of those monies have already been spent by the district. We're looking to recoup some of
no,
those
no, I
monies.
know it's a reimbursement issue.
Some of it, we don't, so for instance, we talked about seeing if we could get monies to recoup for rodeo grounds, the F&R facilities.
Mhm.
But what we did in-house is basically put it back together with a lot of staff time, replacing sinks and flooring and drywall. And so a lot of those things, we had difficult time proving and getting receipts for that, because it was a lot of just Home Depot receipts and staff labor, which we really weren't able to recoup. We talked about potentially moving the building, but that fell through in terms of us being able to do that through the FEMA grant.
I'd say all the claims out there are probably $80,000.
Okay,
And it's mostly tree work and road
Yeah.
repair and
Mhm,
grading.
mhm.
So not,
Thank you.
not a ton in terms of financial hit.
Mhm.
Any other committee member communications? Okay. We have a hand raised, but is that for the committee member communications? I don't, that
I'll
doesn't
let her
usually.
in and see.
Hmm?
I'll let her in and see. I don't know. what it's
Okay.
for.
Yes, Chair Scott, it is. There are
Thanks.
several things that I want to bring up here. The Stewart Street tank appropriated and allocated funding was for $375,000. That is, of course, an infrastructure item, and Trump has put a hold on funding. And so there's now, after these several years of hoping to get this money and the time it's taken to get the Stewart Street tanks to where they're going to be built, the delays have now caused maybe the loss of that 375,000. We don't know yet, but that has been in the news. And so that's, and it was Senator Carbajal, Representative Carbajal, who initiated it. It wasn't a prior member of Congress. He was the one to have done that. The issue with San Simeon, I believe it was a mistake to not have a liaison with San Simeon. I've attended their meetings for 10 plus years, maybe. And Mr. Patrick Faverty is the general manager. He is not the interim. He was appointed interim. He then last year became the general manager. He recently resigned from that position, I understand, taking place in early April. The county has asked him to stay on to help guide them through this process with county. The other item I want to bring up is maybe through you, the chair, Mr. McElhaney can answer this. But at the R&I committee meeting that I attended recently, I think it was February 13th, no, the 18th, was that Mr. Green, the utility supervisor, said that a third line was being put into the project with the distribution and effluent lines to accommodate a line to San Simeon. So I would like to know if nobody knows what's going on with San Simeon, whether it might be a merger, where it might be nothing, or whether the district still might be, our district still looking at incorporation. Because if it's incorporation, then the stakeholders, the community members do have a right to speak on that. A merger, I don't know. But sounds like you guys all need to get your act together and find out just what exactly might be involved here. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Any other committee member communications? I do want, can you let Scott in? He's on Zoom.
Yep, I just left.
Okay.
I'm here.
Oh. Oh. Oh, okay. Okay, so you cannot participate, but you definitely can listen in, and thank you for doing that.
No problem.
Okay, thanks, Scott. We won't tell you that we already made you both secretary and vice chair. That wasn't true. That wasn't true. Okay. Anything else? All right, let's go to public comment then. Do we have anyone who would like to make public comment online?
Christine Heinrichs.
Okay, Christine, Ms. Heinrichs, please make public comment for us.
Yes, I'd like to ask the Finance Committee to review the staff's decision to charge a $100 administrative fee to property owners who have had difficulty with their weed abatement issues. $100 seems like an excessive fee for staff to perform what jobs which they are essentially already being paid to do. So I ask the committee to please review the appropriateness of that fee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Heinrichs. Hey, anybody else online? Okay, well, thank you then. All right, let's go to the consent agenda. I'm sure you all have taken a look at the minutes. For those of you who weren't here, I think you probably just want to abstain. So I don't know if we can, I think we have, I don't know, this would be a question since we only have 2 people who are actually here. Can we approve the minutes? That's not a,
I talked to the Director Thomas had the same issue. Let me double check that email, but it also can be done at the next meeting.
yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and have it at the next meeting. Okay, any questions about those minutes at all? No, all right. Okay. So is Mr. Geary gonna be here? Or the PLC this?
He is not.
Okay,
You
can do it?
I can discuss it.
Okay, so we're now on agenda item 4A, and this is the discussion on the Cambria Vets Hall CIP list. Who would like to describe what CIP means and what it is? How it's used?
I call it a capital improvement, project list, basically. So when we take a look at everything within the district that, we have to maintain and update or perhaps, even new equipment, that list is basically what drives that.
And so, and then this is a little portion of the list, right, for facilities and resources specifically. So this, we have it for water, wastewater, and the general fund. There is, in the quarterly budget report, which you can see out on the website, there's, a timeline. And so there's a process of how these projects get put on a list. And you guys will be a part of that process. So with facilities and resources specifically, you know, with Matthew and I being new, a lot of this list existed well before we got here. And so with facilities and resources specifically, under the Vets Hall renovation, there was discussion of the significant repairs that this building needs and how to maintain it, and wanting to like kind of look into this list that has been here for quite a while and seemed pretty general. And look at the dollar amounts, look at the work that needed to be done, and have a more robust discussion in this committee, which we did last time. We dove into this quite a bit. That was kind of the background on why we're discussing just this section of the CIP list.
And the committee at the last meeting assigned us to decide whether or not we wanted to put, well, they recommended that we put an ad hoc committee together to really look at this part of the CIP list. If you look at your document that you have in front of you, you see the Bs and the 2s and the 3s under ranking. If there's a B in the ranking, that means that it's already been budgeted. And then the next one would be 2s and 3s. So there aren't any 1s, right?
I'd have to look, I think there is ones,
Oh,
but not in this
so,
section.
yeah, so in other words, the 3s mean that these are not at the,
Yeah.
these are not at a priority level right now. Although that may be, debated about whether or not some of them need to be done immediately. And that would be part of what the ad hoc committee would want to look at in conjunction with David Aguirre, who is the manager of that department.
And you could go listen to the recording from last time. I mean, we talked a lot about the roof and that there was maybe some more significant need to pull that forward and budget for it immediately. And, you know, and the flooring were some other things. And Mr. Aguirre has some numbers. I don't know if these are updated based upon that discussion, but you could listen to that recording if you wanted to be on the ad hoc committee and get some background on that. And the biggest issue with doing any sort of Vets Hall renovation, of course, is the money. That facilities and resources specifically does not have a lot of money to spare. So it would be a reserve or a reserve expenditure or going out and getting some financing to accomplish these tasks. And then also, I think the discussion needs to be, do we do just one-off things? Like, do we fix the roof? Do we fix the floor and then wait a few years? Or do we go out and get financing and kind of do a total renovation, you know, looking at what best would meet the community's needs, the district's financial needs, all of those things, as well as maintaining the asset. I think there are, like, the roof is one of those things that if we don't fix it, you know, you need to do these things to maintain the asset. So, as well as I think we did briefly touch on possibly bringing in a consultant to do an assessment on things like that, like what absolutely needs to be done in a deferred maintenance aspect. So again, you could go back and listen to the recording, but those were all the things that were discussed the last time we had the discussion.
Yeah, so we talked about so it's a community center at one point, you know, if need be, the Red Cross would come here in terms of disasters. But its location within the flood zone, the Vets Hall itself doesn't really meet the standards of like a FEMA type evacuation center. There's not enough plugs, not a quality kitchen, the roof issue, flooring, there's just a lot of different things with the Vets Hall that need to be repaired, need to do something like that. So some of that was talking about bringing in a consultant, see what we'd have to do to bring it up to standard, potentially for some type of emergency evacuation center that would hold to FEMA standards. The other part of it is, it's just not in great shape. You know, when you take a look at the floors, they need to be done pretty badly. The roof is an issue. If we take a look at some of our ceiling drop tiles here, we've had multiple leaks. The heating system is not very efficient. Windows need to be replaced. I mean, I could go on and on. So it's only going to get worse moving forward, you know, with us.
So that ad hoc committee then would be looking at what should we do? Yes.
So within the budget, is the expenses and the revenue associated with this facility pretty easily identified?
Yes.
Okay, and is that true of the district's other activities
Yes.
like the ranch and what have you?
The ranch is in the facilities and resources budget, so it's, it can some of the expenses can get mixed a little bit. We try and, we have a line item specifically for ranch expenses, but you know, like staff time is not in there, that sort of thing. And I'm happy with new members. If you want to set up a meeting with me, I can, go over the budget with you to give you a better understanding of what you're looking at when it comes before you. I'm happy to do that. So you can, you know, we can have just a one-on-one meeting, or I could meet with both of you together if it worked, and we can go over that, and I can just discuss the formatting and how it looks and how we budget for the things. But facilities and resources is funded, and they do get the Vets Hall revenue, which is not that much. They're getting the electric vehicle revenue as well as they get property tax revenue. And that's really, we do have a general fund reserve, so the board can make, if we make a recommendation, let's say to do the roof, and we would ask the board for money from the general fund reserve.
And going backwards, as far as our facilities and resources department, we've been in a structural deficit of anywhere between 80 to 100,000 a year for a decade, maybe. So that was coming out of general fund reserve, so it was losing money. So what we did last year with David, Mr. Geary, who came in as a new facilities manager, we stopped a lot of our practices of contracting and outsourcing work. We hired a third maintenance technician, and we started doing a lot of these responsibilities that were costing the facilities and resources department. Putting them in that deficit, we did it ourselves, and within 1 year, we were in the black. 1 year, we were able to come out of a deficit and basically balance our budget. So we, this year, budgeted for the same type of activities that we did the year before that kept us in a balanced budget, which leaves literally zero money in facilities and resources for anything. So anything moving forward that's under facilities and resources in terms of capital improvement will come out of the general fund reserves.
Or we would need to get financing.
Or financing.
Which the
or
question then would be, facilities and resources couldn't handle a
the
debt
debt
payment.
service.
Right.
So would the general fund have to accommodate, you know, it's just a complicated situation.
Can you tell us, number one, how much are in reserves? And
I'm gonna test my memory.
just generally, and then
Two margaritas.
3 million-ish, yeah.
And there's
Okay.
one reserve account for literally everything.
For the general fund, which includes fire and facilities and resources. It's been lumped. It's on my plate to try and maybe decipher whose is what. I think that would be helpful. I mean, but then it's hard because facilities and resources has never made money. So honestly, they don't have any reserves. That's their own. So it's just general fund. Which I guess could be attributed to fire. I'd have to go back and trace the history on that. Any cost savings that we have within the general fund, goes into that reserves. And then, the utilities have their own separate the enterprise funds have their own separate reserves. Water has their own, wastewater has their own, and the WRF has their own. So those, it's separated out.
You know what the WRF is? Okay. So, yes,
We did talk about another opportunity, perhaps for financing, was to look for some sort of grants if we were to take and to be able to turn this into a FEMA qualified
Yeah.
type structure.
yeah,
And so that needs to be in that ad hoc committee's discussion too.
right,
Because, and I had been a contractor for 25, 30 years, and you have to know what your end product is gonna look like.
Mhm.
So we need to take and do our homework and find out what we want this building to be so that we don't fix something only to have to tear it out and redo it to
Right.
accommodate something new that we wanted to accomplish, if it's possible to identify those things. So, yeah, it's gonna need a new roof, but is the frame gonna stay the same? Or what's the final thing gonna look like? So we don't have to do a bunch of rework and throw money, good money against bad.
right. So, are there any other questions about this? So I was hoping that there was gonna be a sentence after what you just said
Like,
about wanting to be on the admin.
oh, I definitely want to be on that.
Okay, all right. Thank you. And is there anyone else who has interest? Okay, great, Alice, wonderful. All right, so before we have a vote on that, we do have public comment. So let's go ahead, and I think Ms. Dickinson would
Yeah.
like to make public comment.
Thank you, Chair Scott.
Sure.
Okay, so there's a member of your committee, I think his first name is Keith, just spoke.
Yes, yes.
Again, with the new administration in Washington, DC, what is President Trump hoping to do? Get rid of FEMA. So anything you're looking at the federal level infrastructure items, really pay attention to what's going on. Nothing has been finalized yet, but this is what's coming out of Washington. And so, which you apparently have some thinking that maybe it could be of help. Well, we don't know that yet. The other thing is, I'm wondering how much more money this district thinks they can borrow. We have a $24 million loan for the wastewater treatment CIPs. That's 12.1 million in with principal and 12 million in interest. We also we still owe $6 million on the EWS from way back in 2014. It was a 20-year loan. The wastewater treatment plant's a 30-year loan. How much, and the district can't get a bond. And so what exactly, how do you propose to pay for almost $3.5 million worth of items for the Vets Hall? Right now, my main concern is getting water from our distribution line and getting a new effluent line at the same time. I am not interested in putting a third line in for San Simeon when nothing has been brought up to the public or maybe even to members of the board about that. And that question was not answered when I asked it earlier. So, folks, I'm just a member of the public, but I really pay attention. And I think it would behoove you to pay more attention. Certainly when I ask the finance manager questions that I think she could answer, she never seems to be able to give me an answer. It's always, oh, well, I'll have to look into that, blah, blah, blah. But come on, and then I see $600,000 for admin office relocation. That's not the number we were given when the district was going to move down to the new building at 2150 Main Street. That was not the amount by any means. And so I don't know where these numbers are coming from. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dickinson. Yes,
Just touch base on that.
Okay.
So some of the discussion.
so Mr. McElhaney is gonna touch base on that.
Yeah, so some of the discussion when the CIP list was created was when we talked about admin office relocation, was when we were gonna take facilities and resources and the admin office, potentially build a modular on the ranch. Those were some things we were talking about in terms of, because we were paying rent at the old facilities, that was $3,400 a month, $3,800 a month, and then F&R needed to be relocated. So that was what we had discussed potentially about putting a modular on the ranch. That's probably not moving forward now that the admin office has relocated to downtown and we cut our rent almost in half. So the discussion will still have to be had about facilities and resources eventually moving, because it's right up against, the creek there, and it's a very old building. Has a lot of issues.
Yeah, and so as the CIP list gets updated for this coming budget cycle, that line item may come off of there. That's not a representative of what we asked for at the board for the relocation to Main Street. That was a
Right.
$25,000 budget line item,
Right.
which you can see on the quarterly budget report listed as a budget adjustment approved by the board
So we're not spending $600,000
Right.
to move.
to move that.
Are there any other public comment? Okay, great, thank you. So I think we're at a point now where, I would like to have a motion. I mean, I can just appoint you, but I'd like to have a motion for, the ad hoc committee.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Oh, did you wanna?
Well, I was gonna ask a Brown's Act type of question regarding that. If there's 3 members on the subcommittee,
No, ad hoc, only 2.
oh, just 2 people on the
Just
ad hoc
2,
committee?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If there was a 3rd person, I've been on subcommittees where there were 3 people, could we have met together other than in a public meeting?
No,
No.
but at that point, the bylaws were different. And what we did was we updated the bylaws so that we were better following the Brown Act. Because at one point, the chair was the voting member, if in the case of a tie, but we said no. So ad hocs are 2 people. I cannot meet with the ad hoc. You all have to meet by yourselves, and you can meet with David Aguirre, you can meet with Denise, you can meet with whomever, these guys, to give you the
Staff.
information that you need.
Every ad hoc I've been on has a staff member present,
Okay,
but
Really?
only put 2 members of the
Yeah,
committee.
2 members of the committee.
perhaps that's correct. Maybe I've misremembered.
No, we changed the bylaws. Yeah, so now the answer is what I just said.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Okay.
so do I have a motion to appoint Ellis and Keith as the ad hoc for the CI, for the, let's see, to address numerous projects needed at the Cambria Vets Hall?
So moved.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Gee, thanks.
Gee, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'd like to have a roll call. Do you do the roll call or can I do the roll call?
You do it.
Oh, okay. Hey, Karen,
Aye.
Alice.
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Keith.
Aye.
Okay. And I'm sorry, but Scott can't vote. Okay, so it passes unanimously. All right. Thank you so much for being willing to do that. Okay, we're on agenda item 5. This is future agenda items. And we will have the secretary election at the next meeting. The minutes from this meeting will be on that agenda item, plus the minutes from this meeting, both. Tell me what is coming up that we're gonna need to be doing.
Haley, can you help me a little bit? Sorry, I'm coming back from vacation, but is there anything next month that is on any of our annual things?
Let me check, just give me.
She keeps me track with that stuff.
Sorry.
When is the budget? When will we see the budget?
We don't see the budget till I think May.
Okay,
It needs to go before the board in June. Again, it's very specific,
okay.
criteria that we have to meet for that.
And that's July 1 through June 30th.
Correct.
So we're operating under the 24-25 budget now.
Yes.
I was just wondering, as a new member, if I could get a hard copy of the current budget?
Mhm.
So will the auditor's report be ready by the next?
I don't
meeting?
know. I have to touch base with them today to see what their timeline is.
So that would be the only item potentially for March.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm gonna say yes because it needs to be, so.
Okay, okay,
So yes, the auditor's budget is the only thing on there.
okay. So we'll have a meeting that isn't too intense again. And the next meeting is what date?
March 31st. But you guys also have the WRF tour, the AMI, WWTP tour.
Yeah,
We have
you all
Brown
know
Act
about.
training, so we have 4 meetings in the month of March for.
When was the Brown Act training?
It is Wednesday, March 12th from 10 to 12 at the Ben's Hall.
Okay, tell me all of those dates, just for the record.
Bring them up on my calendar. So let's see. The 26th at 1 o'clock, which is this Wednesday, is the WRF tour from 1 to 3 at San Simeon Creek Road. Then
Where are we gonna meet?
at the gate, and then you guys will all sign waivers and drive in.
Okay.
So if you go out Sanderson Road, you turn right. Yeah, are you out there by that
Yep.
swimming pool that's empty?
Yep,
Yep.
I won't be swimming that day, but I
Oh.
will be there with my car and you'll see me and
Okay.
I'll let you. And then the next meeting will be on Wednesday, March 5th at 10 a.m. for the WWTP tour and AMI water meter installation demonstration. And that will be at 5500 Heath Lane, which is our wastewater treatment plant.
5,500 what?
Heath Lane. And the agenda's already posted for that.
That's over.
Oh,
when
it's
you-
off Windsor.
Yeah,
Okay,
off
okay.
Windsor. Okay,
And then the third meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, March 12th. For Brown Act training from 10 to 12 here at the Vets Hall. And then the fourth meeting is Monday, March 31st. From 10 to 12 here at the Vets Hall. And
That's
that is
this
the
one.
special meeting
Yeah.
for the finance.
okay, and it's a special meeting because again, I had to change the regular meeting date. Because my daughter's turning 50 and I'm taking her to Cabo San Lucas.
Oh, my God.
She'll have
You're taking her where?
to Cabo San Lucas.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm turning 50 this year. Can you be my mom?
Yeah. Sure.
Mine too.
Her sister, because I'm turning 50 as well.
Whoa. All
Just
right.
Inherited a lot more.
Yeah.
I know, but you've already been to college, so that's okay. All right. Anybody, any questions about those dates? And, can you talk about whether or not these are required? Or for instance, if they don't show up and they miss 3 in a row, then they may be taken off the committee. Are these part of the required meetings?
Yeah, that was the reason for my question
Right.
earlier about what meetings count for that
Right.
3, when you're supposed to ask to be excused.
Well, my sense is, and we'll see what Haley has to say, but my sense is it's the regular meetings that. So these are really informational meetings and would be great if you could be there, but they aren't something that has ever, in my estimation, been required. You have something,
It says committee members, section 2.4 of the bylaws.
Yeah.
Committee members shall attend all regular and special meetings
Ooh.
of the committee unless excused for emergencies or other good cause. Good cause for absence includes circumstances of which the chairperson of the committee is notified prior to the meeting meeting.
Yeah.
Good cause also includes board authorized or committee authorized meeting absences such as attendance at a conference directly related to the functions and interests of the district or at the meeting of another public agency in order to participate in official capacity. B, a committee member who is absent for good cause may notify the chairperson by electronic transmission, telephone communication or letter. The minutes shall indicate whether an absent was excused. And C, a vacancy shall occur if a committee member is absent from 3 consecutive regular meetings without cause, except as otherwise provided for by law or as authorized. by the
That
board of
says
directors.
regular meetings.
Says regular.
So
meetings.
regular meetings. So the answer is no, they aren't required.
But it does say committee members shall attend all regular and special meetings.
So now, we need to look at the bylaws because they're contradictory.
So, you guys did task,
There you go.
you guys did task the, district attorney and staff with reviewing the board and standing committee bylaws at your regular meeting in
Yeah,
January.
Yeah,
So we will.
Let them know.
Mark that as reviews.
yeah, that would be good.
And then some of these were already set up before this committee was
Yeah.
stood up. There's not gonna be any action taken, let's say at the WRF joint meeting.
Yeah.
And with, as the bylaws state, you can excuse,
Right.
you know, so I don't think it's, if someone can't make the WRF
Yeah.
meeting, I don't think it's gonna be, you know.
So just let me know.
Is it your expectation the May 12th is gonna be a budget meeting? It's the month before the budget goes to the board, is that correct?
Yes, I will verify that, but I believe so. I don't have my timelines in front of me, sorry. But
Yeah, I'm
Because you
traveling-
can't be.
traveling back from Kenya
Oh.
oh my gosh.
on that day, thinking I won't be.
Well,
But-
you know, you'll have access, to the,
The information will be available
Information.
in advance of the meeting?
yeah, online.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know that you'll be able to, be part of the discussion. I'll ask the attorney. Because I mean, if you're in Kenya, sorry, well, you're on
I'll
your
be in
way
the
back.
air.
Yeah, you'll be in here, so, yeah, but you'll have the information, and if you have something that
Sit by the
you,
pool and look at it?
well, not only that, but
You know,
write me questions,
okay.
you know,
I'm
send
good at
me
that.
questions.
Yeah, because you're a citizen too. You
Yeah.
can do- and
Cause
that's-
Keith and I will look at it for the agenda. Okay,
Yes.
all right. Is there any public comment for future agenda items?
No.
Okay. So is there anything else from any committee member? Okay, well, we are adjourned then, and the time is 11:11.